we're going to do what we always do when we're not ready to go, but we're prepped. We just go. Not ready to go, but we're prepped. Does that even make sense? I don't know. I don't want to be rude, but truthfully, I don't care. Because all I know is it's time to rock and roll. It's time to rock and roll because we got some time constraints. Justin Greskowitz with the like already. Thanks, Justin. Thanks for sharing the episode, my friend. Justin, that I'm talking about, is the Purple People Eater. Justin Greskowitz. Whose episode came out yesterday on the show. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm jabbering about. So we are going to, hey Pritch, if you're in school, you want to have the kids listen to some Spanny, let's get on it. So I'm going to do a double live recording here. I figure out, and honestly, I don't know if anyone knows, Pritch, Justin, if you guys know, which would it, hi Andrew Ritter. I don't know if doing two different live streams would accrue more people to see the live streams, or if one long one would get more viewers and exposure. I don't know. So I figure I'll just record one long one and we'll just try. Pritch, maybe you could just bring this to the office, put it in front of the school microphone, and we could just just blast it out to like the whole school on a Friday, right? It's Friday afternoon. That's kind of what I thought too, Pritch, but I figured, I did that last week, so we'll just do it this way this week, and we'll see. So I guess we're going to see. What I'm going to do right now is what I learned this week, and then we're going to go to the workouts. And I got to be... Yeah, I have time. I have 45. Not a lot of time. So I'm going to get cracking. Okay, Yuns? So put in your earbuds. Let's get cracking. Cracking, shellacking. One, two, three. Bum, bum, bum. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of What I Learned This Week. It is another week down. I'm recording this is the 19th of October, so wow. We're getting through this year quite fast. Let's dive into a What I Learned This Week. And it's really neat because Dred and I are talking about writing another book. And he's been working on the model of the book. I've been creating the content. So we're putting these pieces together. And just yesterday, he messaged me. We were talking on the phone, actually. And he said, boy, these What I Learned This Week's, which originally started out as the Excellence Blueprints, and then they morphed into the Bold Blueprints, and then they morphed into What I Learned This Week. He said, there is such gold in these documents, and we're going to use these documents to help supplement what I write in the book. So it's a nice archive of facts and data and information and education and inspiration. That is these What I Learned This Week. So it feels good. Dred also makes these incredible show notes for every single episode. Episode 201 just came out yesterday with Justin Greskowitz. Dred has created such incredible show notes for each and every one of those episodes that there's so much data that we're sitting on, so much awesomeness that we're sitting on, that we will, now that Dred's retired, now that he's with Spanny Inc. full time, we will dive into this stuff and start repurposing it for all kinds of cool stuff. Let's dive into this week's first bullet point. Remember, these are 7 bullet points taken from the books that I've read this week, the conversations that I've executed, and or ancillary podcasts and things I listen to outside of those two major formats. Number 1, and this is coming from The Dichotomy of Leadership by Jocko Willink, which I will finish on Monday. And then we're starting a new book, which is incredible, called The Good Neighbor, Story of Fred Rogers. Absolutely incredible book thus far, 50 pages in. Let's get back to the first bullet point of Dichotomy of Leadership. Jocko tells us, quote, standard operating procedures were not fixed, inflexible laws with no room for variation. They were guidelines that needed to be balanced with adaptability and common sense. Consider this. The Dichotomy of Leadership, the book, it's called The Dichotomy of Leadership. And the whole book is about these opposing forces, opposites, that you need to do this, but don't do it so much that you do it this way, right? There's this line that you have to walk. There's this balance that we have to walk. And he's talking about being, quote, disciplined, not rigid. The idea of discipline, but within that discipline, not being a robot, not being so rigid that you don't even think like a human being. When I was reading this chapter, I thought about call centers. When you try to call your cable, your computer, whoever, you just try to talk to a human and you ask them questions and they repeat the same thing. You're thinking, oh my gosh, just be a human. They are disciplined and rigid. They are not disciplined, not rigid, meaning they're sticking to the script 1,000,000%. There is no variation. He says that they were guidelines that needed to be balanced with adaptability and common sense. Think of that, adaptability and common sense. That's our humans' ability to think, right? And then act. Be adaptable, use your common sense, be disciplined, not rigid. I'm going to throw this example out there again because it fits in here perfectly. Reading Vince Lombardi's book, When Pride Still Mattered, he talks about simplicity. He values simplicity. He talks about having 4 plays, but being able to run those 4 plays 20 different ways, right? Being disciplined in those 4 plays, and then having the freedom, to use another one of Jocko's terms, discipline equals freedom. Having those 4 plays, boom, you know these. Okay, now we have some variability, some adaptability within these 4 plays to run them 20 different ways. Moving on to the next bullet point. Again, this one comes from Jocko. The book is written dually by Jocko and his partner Leif, and they are the founders of Echelon Front. Quote, the balance between the troops understanding the why. How about this? The balance between the troops understanding the why mixed with intrusive accountability provides the best possible outcome for a team. So this chapter deals with the idea of holding people accountable but not holding their hands. Meaning, right now, so I'll put this in perspective. Right now, it's just me and Dred, right? Me and Dred on the grind every day, bop, bop, bop. I communicate with him, he communicates with me, bop, bop, bop. That's that, boom. What about when we take on another person, and then maybe another person, and then maybe another person, and then maybe another person, and then you got to start to delegate as the leader. You can't have your eyes and your hands on every single thing. It just doesn't work that way. So what Jocko's telling us is the balance between the troops understanding the why, right? So you want someone to do something, they don't care. There's been many instances where I didn't want to do things that either my parents or my teachers or my coach or whatever explained to me. But then when you understand why they want you to do it, or how, or why, how it can benefit you or the situation, why it's important. Actually, in the interview this week that came out with Justin Greskowitz, he said something along the lines in that interview of me, the Spaniard, and him working together, and him telling me, once you understood why you should do a certain thing, you stuck to it and you were totally focused on it. That's the whole premise here. That once you can explain the why to your subordinates, mixed with intrusive accountability. Just because you can't have your hands and eyes and ears on every single thing all the time doesn't mean you should be so standoffish that you don't have your eyes and ears and hands on anything anytime. There's a balance you have to walk. So Jocko's telling us that by thoroughly explaining the why of the situation or the why of the order or the thing that needs to be executed, mixed with that intrusive accountability, meaning, hold them accountable, is the best possible outcome for a team. You simply don't have the bandwidth as a human, right? I have 2 kids. It is impossible for me to keep my eyes and ears on them every second of every day. Rather, I have to explain to them why the values that I value are important. And then every once in a while, boop, hey Gracie, boop, hey Rocky, Dad's here, what's up? With that intrusive accountability. Moving on to the next bullet point, and this is from this week's AMXKids, and I decided to do something a little differently with this week's AMXKids, and that led to further discussion. The next book that Dred and I are writing, it's going to be on what we've built, right? Except we haven't built something that's incredible yet. No, I don't have millions of downloads. I don't have millions of listeners. I don't have it, but I know I will someday based on the system that we're employing. And that's the gist of the book. So we're evolving, we're figuring things out as we go. I recently watched a documentary with the Foo Fighters. It's on Netflix. Absolutely incredible. Don't remember what it's called. Just type Foo Fighters documentary Netflix. Incredible. And in the movie, they were talking about the idea that they underwent all these band member changes. You know, this person's in, this person's out. This must happen 4 or 5 times. And he said that this was happening to us on the big stage. So everyone in the world knew about it. Whereas most of the time, these things happen to people who aren't yet famous. But because he was famous in Nirvana, now everyone knew who they were. And now everyone with their eyes on the Foo Fighters. And now it just was it was out there. Okay, what I'm saying is Dred and I are not out there. So these little things are figured out behind the scenes, behind closed doors. But it dawned on us this week, hey, I picked a kid's book, like a little kid's book, the story of Ferdinand. So Dred and I discussed, whoa, wait a minute. Now do we need to create an AMX Junior and an AMXKids and differentiate? The bottom line is we decided, no, we don't. AMXKids is middle school books. It's going to be kids' books. It's going to be anything not adult books. So this week I chose the story of Ferdinand. And the message on my PDF here that I'm looking at on the What I Learned This Week document is just stinking be you. So if you haven't yet read the story of Ferdinand, or even if you have, if you don't own it, if you have kids, little kids, and you haven't read it to them, or you have teenagers and you want to get your teenagers something different, a little surprise, order the book off Amazon. I think I got it for $5. Go to the bookstore and buy it. The story of Ferdinand is tremendous. It has to do with the idea of just stinking being you, right? You have this little bull that grows into this big, fierce bull that is Ferdinand. He's supposed to fight everyone and kick everyone's butt and go to the bull ring and get it done. But he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do something else. So the whole message of the book is just being content with who you are and what you want and just stinking being you. Tune into AMX Kids. For you, for your little kids, for your middle school kids, for your high school, college kids. It's fun. It's educational. It's inspirational. AMX Kids, new episodes come out every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Back to the dichotomy of leadership. And this is one of the things I battle with the most out of the things that I read, out of the concepts that I've learned over the last several years of systematically learning and teaching. And right in front of me, I have the book, The Good Neighbor, which is a story of Mr. Rogers. And again, there's things in that book that I'm reading that you employ. It's not just about the information. I think it was Bruce Lee. So I'm going to butcher my friend Kyle butchering Bruce Lee's quote. It's not enough to know, you have to do. Okay? So it's not just about reading these books and then closing them and going on your merry way. It's about reading these books, consuming, digesting. That's the power of AMX. It's not just that you hear it. It's that you hear it and then you do it. Don't do all of it. I'll get to paralysis by analysis. But at least pick something and do it. And this is one of those things that I've read that I have to remind myself on a regular basis because I have a 5-year-old and I have a 2-year-old. And as is the dichotomy of leadership, there is certainly a dichotomy here in dealing with my kids. Let me proceed with the point from the book. Quote, Leif is telling us, it was the weakest form of leadership to win an argument through rank or position. Do you remember because I said so? As a parent, and this is bringing it back to what I was talking about right then and there, because I'm the parent, because I'm your dad, because that's the way it is. In this book, as well as other books of theirs and or podcasts, messages of theirs, it's the weakest form of leadership to win an argument through rank or position, because I said so. So I challenge you, and again, this is the dichotomy. I don't know the answer. I'd have to ask Leif, hey, you have small kids too. Can you advise me here? Gracie's 5. She understands reason, more than Rocky does. Rocky's 2. I find myself almost saying and then stopping myself from saying to both of them because I'm your dad and that's the way it is. And I have to check myself. And again, there's a dichotomy here because 2-year-olds don't quite understand reason. However, if I can train myself to enact that habit in myself at a young age, I will thoroughly be comfortable with explaining the reason always, rather than deferring to the always easier because I said so because I'm the father. So that's a great dichotomy that exists there within that dichotomy. The weakest form of leadership to win it is to win an argument through rank or position. So the next time you're about to do that, I challenge you to not do that and explain the reason why. Moving on to the next bullet point, and this ties into the idea of paralysis by analysis, planning, preparation. My whole message is about preparation for what? Everything. That's what we're preparing for. Leif tells us, quote, don't try to plan for every contingency. Doing so will only overburden you and weigh you down so you cannot quickly maneuver. I'm going to use the old analogy. I think it's an analogy. It might be a misuse of that word. Sit down to watch a Netflix movie, right? And then an hour and a half later, you're still trying to figure out what Netflix movie to watch because you're flipping through the billion movies on Netflix. Granted, I love it, and I'm a ginormous fan of Netflix and Prime, but I do find myself in that situation. Paralysis by analysis. So if you find yourself trying to prepare for every contingency, you simply won't execute. You simply won't do. You will be in a state of paralysis by analysis. When I'm fighting, there's 1, 2, or 3 things that we would focus on. And truthfully, most of the time I focus more on me rather than the opponent. Better or worse, that's my philosophy. Because if I find myself obsessing about the other person, I totally become a shell of my potential self. But anyhow, when you're planning for opponents, Rumble Johnson, he does a lot of things really well. But you know what he does super duper well? The left high kick, the left switch kick to the face. That's what he does really well. Johnny Hendricks does so much. You know what he can do really well? He can take you down really well. That tells you, hey, be aware of your hips at all times. And he also has a ginormously powerful, super duper powerful straight left. Knocked out quite a foe with that straight left. So being aware of those 2 things are the things that I mentally prepare for. That's it, folks. Don't plan for everything. Identify the most possible. You're exploring every possible outcome, but you're identifying and you're planning for the most likely ones that will happen. Moving on to my interview that came out on Thursday. This is episode number 201. Just a quick rundown of how this show works. Monday through Friday morning is a new AMX, which is where I discuss books. Tuesday is AMXKids, where I discuss a kid's book. Thursday is an interview that comes out. This week's interview was with Justin Greskowitz, who is a professional Muay Thai fighter, also a close friend of mine, also one of my trainers. On Saturday comes out what I learned this week in a new feature of the show. It's called Spaniard's Weekly Workouts. Is that a good amount of people inquire about working out and training. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to record. I've been recording in a notebook my workouts since January 14th, January 17th. And I thought I'll just start recording them audio and posting it for you as a guide or a challenge. January 14th I started. So that comes out on Friday later this afternoon, but you'll actually be hearing it tomorrow, so it will have come out yesterday. Anywho, that's a rundown of the show. So Justin says this, quote, and this is cool, and this one, I'm not going to say teared up, but my heart fluttered a bit when I read the show notes and recalled our conversation. Justin said, quote, honest to God, that fight, I've been a coach for thousands of fights. I've had almost 100 fights. I've been on almost every kind of position of a loss. I've been a coach. I've been a referee on the biggest level, a fighter, a fan, a friend, a training partner. And I probably took that loss the hardest, devastated, because I knew what it meant. I got chills reading that just now. That was Justin referring to my last fight in Brazil against Leandro Silva. I got choked out. Last fight in the UFC, I got cut. The last fight of my professional career thus far. And Justin recalls that. We recall much of our experiences together. The trip down to Brazil was an awesome one. It's a funny one. But this is a great interview, a great conversation, not only about his and I working relationship, but his fighting career. And the sport of Muay Thai. If you're not familiar with Muay Thai, Google it right now. Justin gives you a couple references to look up. Muay Thai, M-U-A-Y-T-H-A-I. It is the most, and I'm going to say, insane, brutal, crazy, awesome sport there is. It is incredible. And Justin goes in depth about his fighting of Muay Thai, the art of Muay Thai, the culture, how it works with betting and in Thailand. It's an incredibly insightful, fun, educational, I'm even going to say inspirational episode, but I highly encourage you to listen to that. It's number 201, came out on Thursday. And moving to the last bullet point, I heard Jocko. It's funny when you hear things. You hear things and you just remember, and I'm not talking about big, like 9/11. Obviously, we remember where we were at for that. But just littler things like sentences or words or something that hits you profoundly and has an impact on you. And I remember exactly where I was when I was driving and I heard Jocko say this for the first time, that humility is the most important aspect of leadership. To be humble is the most important trait of a leader. I remember hearing him say that. And I've read Extreme Ownership. I listened to his podcast, listened to his talks, been to his event. I read The Dichotomy of Leadership. And it keeps coming up over and over and over and over again. So it's one of those things that you really have to take to heart and really believe in, really understand. But there's a dichotomy that exists with being humble. And there's a line that we must walk. This line is talking about being humble but not being passive. Quote, being humble meant understanding the importance of strategic direction from our boss. All right, boss, I understand this. But, quote, being humble didn't mean being passive. It didn't mean to not push back when it truly mattered. So wouldn't it be easier if we could just have a magic pill or a magic thing that said, this is the way, whoa, and the birds flutter, the doves fly, the rainbow's there, the sun, the rain breaks, ah, they sing your praise, the sea splits, but it's not that way. Because there's a danger lurking in being too humble. Because when you're too humble, you're passive. And when you're passive, the world eats you up. When you're passive in a fist fight, you get your butt kicked. Use that metaphor for outside of fighting. Too much humility or passivity can work against you. You will get eaten up. So we've got to balance this line of humility and arrogance, because we don't want arrogance. We don't want to have a ginormously inflated ego. But at the same time, we don't want to be so humble that we're passive, where opportunities pass us up. I've learned this. I mentioned in today's AMX when I recorded this, I've learned a lot about humility and passivity. And I realized, wow, I'm so focused on humility that opportunities pass me by because I never ask. One of Jack Canfield's principles is ask, ask, ask. A success principle is ask, ask, ask. I've heard many times, Dave Burke, who actually works with Jocko, Top Gun pilot who was on my show, a friend of mine, he said, look, man, just ask me. Worst I can say is no. Or someone can say is no. So understand, obviously, humility is what we're preaching and what we're teaching, but you can't be so humble that you're passive, because then the opportunities and or life passes you by and or eats you up. This has been this week's edition of What I Learned This Week. I highly encourage you. I love this stuff, first of all. So even if you did none of the following things, I would still be back on Monday every day. But anywho, if you'd like to help support the show, there's a few small things you can do. One, you can leave a review on iTunes. We've been hovering just under 100 for quite some time. So you can leave a review on iTunes. You can interact with me on social media at Charlie Spaniard. I absolutely love interacting about learning, right? That's it. Lifelong learning. I want to talk books. I want to talk podcasts. I want to talk interviews. I want to talk documentaries. I want to talk all that stuff. And if you're looking for a speaker, if you're part of a business or you own a business or you're a teacher or you're a principal or you're a coach, I love speaking. I love infecting yuns with this bug, this belief in lifelong learning, to champion, to embody lifelong learning. That is my mission. And by way of doing that, to strike a nerve, to strike a chord in you that convinces you, hey, this guy's got something about this learning thing. And then, it's a whole mindset shift that opens your mind up to a whole new world. I've got books, I've got podcasts, I've got resources, I've got references, I've got workshops, all that stuff to teach to you. So reach out. charliespaniard.com/booking has the form. Check it out, fill it out. I'll get back to you. Be bold. See ya. Have a great weekend. Read a book. Okay, so I'm going to take a couple deep breaths here. A couple deep breaths. I've got to export to my desktop. So this is What I Learned, 83. And then we're going to record our audio workouts. audio workout. That sounds kind of lame, right? You just sit here and go blah 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 blah. Phew, that was a tough one. Okay. Judging by the amount of comments, either nobody's there or nobody cares. But it's all right. I just read in Mr. Rogers' book. They were talking about one time when he was on stage. He had a rough upbringing, elementary, middle school. Started coming to his own in high school. But it talked about an example where he was speaking on stage and other kids were laughing at him. And this was at a point where he was in high school, close to high school, and he had started to develop a little bit more confidence in himself. And his classmate in the book said he just bulldozed right through it. That's it, folks. You might not even be there right now listening. You might not even care. But I'm going to bulldoze right through it. I'm going to keep on keeping on. And as soon as this is done exporting to my desktop, I'm going to record another episode. Thinking about doing this next for AMXKids. Where the red fern grows. Yeah, I think I might do that. I don't know. Maybe. I got a lot of reading. I'm dual reading. I don't dual read much. I do a little bit, but anyway, this book is really awesome. Unplugged. Evolve from technology to upgrade your fitness, performance, and consciousness. Really stinking cool book. Okay, give me a second to make sure that is exported correctly. What I learned, 83 MP3. Boom. You're there. I'm deleting you, file. Hope that was worth it. All right, let me see here. Okay. All right, let's do this. One, two, three. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode, the second episode of Spaniard's weekly workouts. There was enough favorable response, and when I say enough, I'm only talking a couple, right? It's not like hundreds of people reached out to me and said, that was great, or that was cool, but change this. No. I'm talking like 3 or 4. However, there were a lot of downloads, and that tells me that at least somebody's listening, and that's enough of a impetus to keep on going for week number 2. This is Spaniard's Weekly Workouts. For since I was 8 years old, I've been training at a high level. Mostly for combat sports, though I played football and ran. I do all kinds of training, been exposed to all different methods and theories and philosophies of strength and conditioning. I've evolved to a point, partly because of my experience, partly because of my current life situation, where I feel that my training is very beneficial to creating a complete human being, right? The mind side of it is taking care of the systematic learning by way of AMX in the show. The body is taking care of high intensity. This is what we're doing, high intensity, a lot of intervals, running, be it sprints, be it hill sprints, be it long runs. We're doing body weight exercises. We're including kettlebells. We're including the Bulgarian bag. I do a lot because I get bored a lot. I get bored easily. So what I'm going to do is run down my weekly workouts. You can use them straight as a template. Do it. Do exactly what I do if you want. You can, that one sounds fun. I'll do that one, right? So incorporate it into your everything else you're doing. You can compete with me. If you want to compete, jot down the numbers, jot down the times, put it up there, and let's I almost said let's fight. Let's challenge each other. However you want to use it, use it. Just listen for the entertainment value of it. However you want to use it, let's get cracking. I'm just going to run down very point blank, very black and white. I'm going to condense it a little bit from last week because that was some of the feedback, maybe condense it a bit. So here we go, rock and roll. Leaving off with, so last Saturday, I ran 10 miles with my brother. It took an hour and 36 minutes. So on Sunday, so to start out this week, on Sunday, I took off, right? Listen to your body. Trust me, I battle as much with, am I being a wuss or do I really need to rest? Chances are, if you're asking yourself that question, you don't need to rest. Whenever you need to rest, you know you need to rest. That's kind of my bar that I set there. So I needed to rest on Sunday, took that day off. So let's start with Monday morning circuit lift. Now I call this DC7. DC7 off of my friend Dominic Cicerano 7. He originally taught me this workout that is a derivative of FST7. So if you Google FST7, you're going to see, hey, what Spaniard's talking about kind of resembles that. Because the origin of this came from Dominic saying, hey man, this FST7 is pretty cool. So I've kind of morphed it. Don't do exactly that, but I'll call it DC7 because Dominic introduced it to me. But this was it. This was a circuit lift, a full body circuit lift. And when I say full body, I mean chest, shoulders, back, bis, tris. My lower half of the body, this is just my philosophy. I can't say I ever saw it hinder me. I do so much running, so much sprinting, so many inclines that to me is my lower body training. All right, I've never, very rarely, except for Anthony Johnson, have been out strengthed or out muscled in any sort of combat. Different philosophies, that's my way. So all of my lower body training is done by way of running and hill sprints. So these circuit lifts are full body, meaning the full upper body that I just went down. So the way the DC7 works is you do 7 sets of each body part, and you have a 30-second break in between those 7 sets. So this is what it looks like. For chest, I did dumbbell bench press at 60 pounds. So that means 60 pounds, bust out 10 of them, rest 30 seconds. Bust out 10 of them, rest 30 seconds. Bust out 10 of them, rest 30 seconds. Do that 7 times. Then I transitioned to dumbbell military press where I used 45 pounds. Same deal. Sets of 10, 30-second break in between. Then moving on to lat pull downs. 130 pounds. Boom, 10 of them. 30 seconds, 10 of them, 30 seconds. I'll tell you, the first set or the first 2, you might be thinking to yourself, this is pretty easy, but it gets freaking hard quick. And the deal here is we're not trying to just max out on set 1. We're trying to get every stinking little bit out of us by the time we get to set 7. It just gets incrementally harder and harder and harder. That's this type of workout. That's what I'm aiming for. I then went to tricep cables, 100 pounds. And then to barbell curls. I've fallen in love lately for the next couple months with barbell curls. I do preacher curls, I do one-arm dumbbell curls, but I really like just straight barbell curls using 55 pounds there. The breaks in between those sets, in between those different body parts, was approximately a minute, and that total workout took 40 minutes and 27 seconds. Moving on to Tuesday, this is a workout I call 22s, and I'm going to give props to Dominic as well, because he taught me this one as well. 22s is as simple as it sounds. You do 22. This is a descending ladder from 22 reps all the way down to 1. So you can take this, what I did on this day, and you can incorporate it with however you want to. But on this day, I did a descending ladder from 22 reps all the way down to 1 rep in a superset of push-ups to pull-ups. So I did 22 push-ups, 22 pull-ups. 21 push-ups, 21 pull-ups, 20 push-ups, 20 pull-ups, all the way down to 1. It's tough. I tell you, my lats are still sore. I did this on Tuesday. It's Friday that I'm recording this. My lats are still sore. I also want to throw this out there. The vast majority of workouts that I do are as few sets as possible. You know, within that set of 22 pull-ups, I couldn't do 22 pull-ups in one set, then 21 pull-ups in one set, then 20 pull-ups. It's just too much for me. I can't do it. But you do as few sets as you can to get to that total number. So some people can do 100 push-ups in a row. I can't. Maybe I could now, but I can do anywhere 85, 95-ish decent push-ups in a row. So think of doing 100 push-ups in as few sets as possible. Maybe you get 20, then you get 18, you work your way up to 100. The idea with these here, push-ups, I got them all in a row, not a problem. Pull-ups are a different story. So if you do this workout at 22s, just do 22 pull-ups in as few sets as possible. For me, I got 22 in a row. Boom, the first one. For 21 sets, 21 through 13, it was generally between 3 and 4 sets. For the remaining, coming down from 12 all the way down to 1, it was between 2 and 1 sets. Right? So that's 22s, descending ladder, push-ups to pull-ups, superset. Moving on to Wednesday, this was an interval and hill sprint day. It's beautiful. It's mid-October. It's starting to get chilly out in the morning, but it's not ice cold. I love doing hill sprints. I just look at hill sprints as freeing. They're just freeing. They're liberating. They're hard as a mother, but they're just something about them that I absolutely love. So what I did, this workout into the 22s took me 35 minutes. This next workout, the intervals and hill sprints, took me a total of 30 minutes. Here's what I did. I have a hill in the town that I live that's 7 minutes and 39 seconds away. So I jogged to that hill, which is, like I said, approximately 8 minutes at pace. I did 10 hill sprints, which is sprint like a bat out of heck up, slow jog down, get to the bottom, turn like a robot, like a machine, like a systematic approach. Boom, you get to the bottom, turn and sprint. I did that. And then I ran approximately that 8 miles, that 8 minutes back home, did that intervals. So again, it looked like this: 8 minutes running to the hill. I did approximately, we're at 16, approximately 15-ish, 20-ish minutes of hill sprints. Sprint up, jog down, sprint up, jog down. Did that 10 times, so 8 minutes, hill sprint 10 times. And then 8 minutes back home, I did that as an interval. So it's a lot of fast, slow, fast, slow. My hill sprints, so I did 10 of them. They ranged from 27 seconds to 25. That's it. They were all between 25 and 27 seconds. So if you're planning this workout out and you want to replicate it as close as possible, really doesn't matter how long the hill sprint is. My sprints were between 25 and 27 seconds, and my rest between those sprints was approximately 110 to 115. Moving on to Thursday, yesterday. So this was a little bit hard for me to do because I'm obsessive. And I don't even know how long ago, but for some reason I started doing these 1,000 push-up workouts. And to me, saying 1,000 push-ups, I did 1,000 push-ups, feels good, right? It puffs your chest out, literally, actually, puffs your chest out, but just makes you feel good. But I realized, all right, I want to improve on my 1,000 push-ups, right? I want to get better at it. I don't want to bring it down. Right now, my norm is 1,000 push-ups in 40 minutes. I've done it in 33 minutes, but I reach a point of like negative returns. So if I did it in 33 minutes, which is my all-time max, I feel like that takes away from my other training. So what I want to do is I want to shift a little bit, build up so that I can do more push-ups in that 40 minutes that might not detract from my other training. So what I did now, and I did this a couple months ago, I've done it several times, but I did 600 push-ups in 20 minutes. Okay, so we do 1,000 in 40 minutes. Let's do 600 in 20 minutes. So in a 20-minute, this is on Thursday, I did 600 push-ups in 20 minutes. Okay. For sets 1 through 10, minutes 1 through 10, I did 30 straight. So boom, bust out 30 push-ups, wait till the break of the next minute, 30 push-ups, boom. For the first 10 minutes, I did 30 straight. For minutes 11 through 15, I did 20, took a quick break, and did 10. Did that for 11 through 15. 16 through 20, I did 15, took a little break, did 15. That was it, folks. It was hard. It was hard. I could not do a straight set of 30 anymore. The sets of 20 and then 10, 15 and then 15, it was incredibly hard, right? So I'll do this a little bit, and then maybe I'll try to do like 650 in 20 minutes. And I'll just keep building up, and then I'll see how many I can do within that 40-minute window. Also, following that, I took something that I've learned from DDP Yoga, and that's 10-second push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4. You count all the way down to 10, and you get to the bottom. You hold for 10 seconds in a bottom position bottom push-up position off the ground, and then you push yourself back up 10, and then you go back down 10. So it's just a slow-mo push-up, and he calls 10-second push-ups. Following that 600 push-ups in 20 minutes, I did 5 sets of 2 10-second push-ups. 5 sets of 2 10-second push-ups. So that was how I capped it off. That total workout took me 35 minutes. And I remember DDP, so I subscribed to the DDPY app, and I just did one today that I'll tell you about here in a minute. But I remember DDP, I think it was on Rogan, where he said on his 60th birthday, he did, what did he say, 10-second push-ups. So that's a challenge. I don't think I can do it. I'm pretty affirmative that I can't do it. Haven't tried it, but that's really hard. I did 600 push-ups, and then I did 5 sets of 2 10-second push-ups, and I can tell you they were really stinking hard. So just challenge yourself. See how many 10-second push-ups you can do. Again, it's just slow-mo push-ups, and the down and the up is 10 seconds. 10 seconds down, hold for 10 seconds, 10 seconds up. 10 seconds down, hold for 10 seconds, 10 seconds up. Incredibly hard. So today, I'm recording on Friday, October 19th. I did a session of DDPY. Now, on the DDPY app, there's 5 levels, 1 through 5. 1 being the easiest, 5 being the hardest. Today was my first level 5 DDP. I've probably done 10 or 15 sessions of DDPY. And today I thought, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go at level 5. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't take time to stretch. Doing this makes me stretch. It works my muscle. I was telling Facebook Live this morning when I was recording AMX, these DDPY workouts it's a maybe conundrum or paradox or dichotomy. Not sure which word is correct, if any, there. It's so hard. It's so stinking hard when I'm doing it. And then when I'm done, I feel like as fresh as a button, fresh as a whistle, whatever. I feel ready to rock and roll. So it's so stinking hard when you're doing it. And then you finish and you're like, I feel like $1 million. So I don't know what's going on there, but it was thoroughly enjoyable. That was a level 5. It took 55 minutes today. That was my week. Tomorrow, I'm going to cap off. I'm either going to do a bodyweight circuit or I'm going to go for a 5 to 10 mile trail run. That's what I'm going to do on Saturday, October 20th, to cap off the week. I hope this helps. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you take some of these workouts, make them your own, follow the template exactly as you want, challenge, jot down the times and the reps. Share with me, folks. I want to know what you're doing. Share with me. I love interacting with learning. I love interacting with training. That's it. So you're bored. You want someone to talk to about your training. I want to be that guy. At Charlie Spaniard on social media. Reminder that the Spaniard Show comes out, we're putting out what, 7 episodes a week, 8 episodes a week maybe even. AMX, Monday through Friday. AMXKids, new episodes on Tuesday. Interviews on Thursday. What I learned this week on Saturday. And for now, if it keeps building steam, Spaniard's weekly workouts on Friday afternoon. That's it, folks. Have a great one. I'll see you Monday morning for AMX Spaniard Show on iTunes. Leave a review. Interact. See ya. Whew. Ooh, doggy. That there, my friends, was some intensity. All right, so that was 15 minutes. Last week's was 22. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what the response is. That's it, folks. We're out. See ya. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Enjoy this coming out later. Enjoy what I learned this week coming out tomorrow. I'll see you Monday morning for AM Excellence. See ya.